Okay, we are back live with another Between the Pages book chat. And today we have guest fantasy author Keri Brown, and she's here to talk about her Origo series. And I'm going to turn it over to her and let her introduce herself. So take it away.
Hi. Well, I've never actually done like a whole introduction at the in a video, so here goes. I'm Keri Brown. I live just south of Chicago in the U.S., and I write fantasy based with fantasy mixed with a lot of mythology and history. It's kind of my jam. So, book one just re-released on Wednesday. Um, I was calling it revised, but my kids call it remastered, and that just sounds cooler. So it's all remastered and crisper, cleaner, and now it's available in large print. So not sure what else to say.
That's okay. So tell us about the book. What's it? What's the story? What's the plot? All the juicy details, without
Um,
spoilers, of course.
well, it's very much a nature versus nurture. Um, in the beginning, there's a village. It's being ransacked, and nearby we have a couple of shape-shifting dragons. In their dragon form, they are lung dragons, oriental dragons without wings. But when they're in their other form, they're humans. So they would be called do humans because they are dragons who turn into humans. There are other types. They can only turn into one other thing. So there's do wolves, there's do humans, do elves, lots of different types. And this there's this village and they're nearby and it's ransacked. They find an orphan child and they decide to raise it. But as they're raising this child, they see that he's starting to match up with the prophecy that's supposed to destroy their world. But how can you look at a baby and think something like that? How can you turn your back on a child that you've started to love as your own? So they continue to raise him, thinking that they can nurture his nature away. But as the story goes, the plot thickens. His darkness shows, and I try to keep the reader on their edge of their seat as to whether or not he's going to actually become the son of darkness, or if he's going to choose his own path.
Sounds cool. So tell us a little bit about the main characters, the dragons and the dark chosen one, I guess.
Well, Jack is a human, but um, due to this prophecy and due to um, the dragons gave him a serum. And in most people, this serum will heal you if you're injured, and it'll sustain you if you're hungry or thirsty. But he's never had anything before. He was just born, so he's never even drank from his own mother. So it does something different to him, and he acquires a scale on his chest, and it's black, which matches this prophecy that says that he's going to destroy their world. Now, the family that finds him, it's actually a father and son, and they settle with him, and we've got Gray, who's kind of spunky. He's the big brother. He accepts Jack, no matter what. Jack knows that even if he does something terrible, he can tell Gray, and Gray will try to understand. But Inko, he kind of starts off fun, but he slowly becomes the strong, silent type as the stress becomes overwhelming. And then we've got Raisin, and he's our comic relief. He's a little 3-inch golem. It's about this tall, and he likes to start fights like Joe Pesci in Goodfellas. So he likes to talk a lot of crap, and it goes out. It's got a very large cast, but those are the core characters.
Okay, so of course you've got the dragons, and we've actually had a lot of fantasy authors on the show who write about dragons, and it's interesting how the different varieties of dragons. So you mentioned that the two dragons that are your main characters are based on Asian dragons. So why did you go that route as opposed to the Western dragons?
Well, the key that's on their chest that controls all of their dragon powers um, comes. It's I kind of derived it from Asian medicine and beliefs, and they have. My father was an acupuncture doctor, and the key was a large part of that. Um, it it has both medical and spiritual significance um, throughout most of the Asian, many of the Asian cultures. And so it kind of naturally leaned that way already. And I kind of prefer them. They're so graceful. And I didn't want these to be more beasts. Because every time I see a dragon, it's either tearing up a village or somebody's riding on its back. I just wanted something fresh.
Yeah, I enjoy the Asian dragon mythology as well. It's very interesting. So tell us a little bit about the world. What is it like?
The world is based on kind of all of our mythologies, all tossed together and mixed. There's the Abatwa. They're about this big, and if you see one, you have to answer questions a certain way because if it notices that you've seen it, it'll ask you, um, where did you first see me? And you have to answer from that mountaintop over there because of your enormous size. And I would like to run and flee for I'm so afraid of you. You got to stroke their ego, or they shoot you with a poisonous dart and kill you. Um, and if you ignore them, they shoot you with a poisonous dart and kill you. If you tell them they're so little and so cute, they'll shoot you with a poisonous dart and kill you. Of course, now they've become civil, so they follow the laws of Origo. It's got its own government, and the dragons run that government. They're the dominant species, and there's a backstory to all of these different creatures, to what their kind used to do, and then there's what they do now, which is follow the rules and live a happy and productive life. It's very much as close to utopia as you can get without it becoming unrealistic. Um, and these creatures have all got dark, dark stories about who they are, what their creatures do. Um, but it's based on who they were in the past. So, but you still find some of it still kind of um, relevant. We've got the fair men and the fair ladies, which are fairies, and so the fair ladies, my fair lady, they're bridge guardians. So there's a lot of plays on words and just interweaving of mythology. It was a lot
Well,
of
it
fun.
sounds interesting that I like the fact that the more primal nature of the mythology, you've evolved it into more civilized, the whole thing. Because usually you've got more civilized creatures like with elves and the trolls and orcs and stuff are very primitive. So I like the fact that they kind of all evolved together into a society. That's an interesting twist on it.
Yeah. My favorite part is the trolls. Whenever you see trolls, they're big, they're ugly, they're gnarly, they're mean, they're evil. But my trolls are more likely to start a cuddle orgy than a war. So, and they're asexual. They have no gender. Um, they're that's not asexual. They're what do you call it? They're genderless. They identify however they please, and they don't breed through sex. They breed another way, which is a mystery to everyone. But they can reproduce anything, and they're the smartest, most loved creatures on Origo. They don't really get center stage much, but they're everyone's favorite. They're my favorite.
Okay, so what was the hardest scene or type of scene for you to write in the series?
Um, it would be probably when Gray explains to Jack what happened to his mother. Um, having two forms makes their reproduction a little tricky. So when a female dragon conceives, she has to stay in her dragon form because unless she's a whale in her other form, her other body will not be large enough to hold the dragon egg. So, but they have to be wearing their key to sustain their dragon form. So if a woman is developing an egg, which they conceive and lay an egg within a day or two. But if you remove their key during that process, they'll shrink down and they'll be crushed from the inside, which is what happened to his mother. So one of his lines was, "I crushed my mother's heart before mine began to beat." And so that scene was really hard for me to write because it was very emotional, and Gray is usually a very happy-go-lucky character. It was hard to see him that way.
Yeah, it sounds like it would be an emotional scene to write.
Yes.
So, what was your favorite scene or type of scene to write in the series?
That would probably have to be in the series. It would probably have to be the scene where it's a side character. Someone's missing and everyone's out looking for her. And in the meantime, this character's been chosen to watch the house in case that person returns. And while he's there, a honey badger breaks in to the house. He comes in through a window and he fights with this honey badger. And it it's very comic. They chase each other all over the house. There's down feathers going everywhere. Um, he grabs a bowl of soup and puts it over his groin to protect his groin, but there's still soup in it, so it's going all down his pants. And the honey badger lunges and bashes its face into the bowl, and they chase each other all over the place. And finally he manages to get him off and throws him down a well, but he can't stand to hear him splashing down there, so he lowers the bucket and runs off into the house. But the scene itself, where they're chasing each other around, and it's just kind of goofy and fun.
Oh, it sounds like a fun scene. So, are any of your secondary characters a little quirky or like to steal scenes from the main characters?
Yes. A side character from book one ended up rising as a main character in book two. I didn't even give him a very good name because I didn't think he was going to matter. Um, but he's definitely taken center stage in book two, which would be Gray's grandfather, the one who killed Gray's mother by removing her key after she had conceived an egg, but before she laid it. He's the cause of that death. And I only mentioned him in that one scene in book one, and in book two, he's become front and center. He likes the attention.
Okay, so do you have a favorite character?
That would be my favorite character. He became my new favorite real quick.
Okay, so is there any character that you'd like to hang out with in real life?
That would probably have to be Raisin, the little guy who likes to talk a lot of smack. He's just, everything that comes out of his mouth is usually the comic relief, which I try to put a lot of that in there because there's a lot of really dark scenes. And he can make just about any scene, he can bring you out of it with a little laughter. He's very, very food driven, especially with bacon.
Well, who doesn't love bacon? Maybe vegans. But
Right?
What are your characters afraid of?
He's afraid of water because he sinks like a rock because he's a rock. And Jack's afraid of failure. He doesn't do everything just right. He could end up destroying the world, or at least he fears he may. And Gray's main concern is losing his brother. He can't imagine losing his brother because he was an adult when him and Inko took Gray in or took Jack into the family. So he's his big brother, but he's got that little bit of paternal edge to it as well. I would say that those are the biggest fears. The parents fearing that their children will end up that their son, that Jack is going to become the son of darkness. That's a primary fear throughout most of the book.
Okay, so you obviously write fantasy, but are there any other genres that you've dabbled in or would like to dabble in?
Thinking about possibly writing a true murder story after this one, after this series. Maybe there was a murder in my family in the 70s, and I've thought about writing the story of that one. But I also live in a town where there was the first documented possession, if you believe in that, the first documented possession in America. And I've thought about rewriting that story as well because it's really popular in our area.
Yeah, yeah, paranormal and true crime are popular genres too. And true crime is one of my favorites to read. I love true crime stories. Well, I think we'll wrap it up here then, and I'll let you tell everybody where they can find you and your books.
Well, I have a website, origonow.com. It's just the title with now written after it. And on there, it's got the links at the bottom to KDP to be able to get the books, or sorry, not KDP, to Amazon Kindle. It's available in two sizes of paperback, one large print, one standard print, and for ebook.
Okay, that's great. Well, thank you for being here. It was a pleasure chatting with you, and your books sound wonderful. So,
Thank you.
and
It's been a pleasure to be here.
Okay, between the pages, we'll be back tomorrow with another author. So join us then. So that's all for now. Bye.